this is legitimately terrifying for the rest of the NBA as Victor Wembanyama revealed his summer shenanigans, as he puts it. And not only does it include working with the great Hakeem Olajuwon, who has turned multiple players into absolute superstars, we knew he also worked with Kevin Garnett. He's even learning spells and witchcraft. There is so much to dive into on Victor Wembanyama, including him giving a little bit of a hint about his height and how it's even taller than we thought. We gotta dive into all of that, but not just that today. We're getting some practice footage coming from the Spurs themselves, filled with amazing clips. Even Wemby shooting over a 7-2 cornet, some dunks. There is so much hype right now, so many great things to talk about. And you know what? Let's just start with the roster and what we're looking at now, heading into practice, heading into this season that finally feels right around the corner. Again, we're seeing these practice clips. I'll roll them again. This is from the Spurs official Twitter, and I promise we'll get into Wemby in just a minute, but like, it just feels real now, right? We're finally in September, 9 days into September, and we're getting these clips. The guy's looking great. There was actually a lot of Lindy Waters in this. I had chopped it up a little bit, but the Lindy Waters looked pretty interesting too. But this is something I'm so excited for, seeing all these guys working out together in this amazing looking facility, mind you. I feel like every time I see it, I'm just like, wow, I want to go play basketball there. But that's beside the point. Looking at this roster right now, we've been talking for so long about how this team is going to work together this year and how there is a lot of growth that still needs to happen within this team. Because look, I'm seeing a lot of people say like, yeah, you know, the Spurs, maybe they're ready, maybe they're not. People say maybe Wemby's ready, maybe he's not. But regardless, this team is extremely young. And like, for example, like their veteran really is De'Aaron Fox in a lot of ways. Like, this dude's one of the oldest guys on the team alongside guys like Kelly Olynyk and even like Luke Cornett to some extent, but Jordan McLaughlin too. But De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama heading into this season is going to be very exciting. But again, it's not just those guys. It's the other guys we see in these clips. Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan, Stephon Castle. The fact that this team is so young and the expectations are so high, sometimes I think will cause people to, I don't know, have unrealistic expectations. Like, when you have expectations that are right here because of one guy in particular, then that kind of raises everyone else's expectations. But I like that. I like that that's the case. I like that when I'm looking at the replies, the comments to this, it's like, oh, the guys are ready. They got to step up. They got to step up. Because that pressure to win, it's, you know, it can be tough to deal with if you're not ready for it. But it's also something that spurs a lot of growth, because we all know competition, that breeds fire, that breeds that drive to be better. And when you have a guy like Wemby, and even a guy like Fox, who again has incredibly high expectations this year because we just signed him to that 5-year max deal. When you have a guy like that and a guy like Wemby, you want this team to be a playoff team. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You want us to be better than I think even some projections would have us. So that naturally extends to the rest of the roster. Guys like Vassell, like Castle, Keldon Johnson, these bench guys. Dylan Harper, who hopefully will recover from his thumb surgery very well before the start of the season. Champagnie, Cornett, Olynyk, these new acquisitions. The expectations for them gets naturally elevated. And that causes pressure. But pressure and getting through that kind of pressure, that scrutiny from fans, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more from the media, as, you know, if Wemby can't carry this team to a blah, 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 there's going to be all these narratives happening, and I'm calling it now. To have that pressure, to go through it as a team is going to be great. So I'm just feeling great that the season's right around the corner. These clips are getting me hyped, and I know you guys are hyped too, but, you know, there's more to it than just this. It's Wemby himself, really, that's causing a lot of this stir right now, and it's because of his recent social media posts, and we're going to dive right into it. But hey, before we do, we're less than 200 subscribers away from 10,000. Look, there's like 60% of you watching these videos are not subscribed. And we got Spurs content coming basically every single day, all season long. Season's right around the corner. If you want to stay up to date, this is the spot to be. So thank you for being here. Want to dive into this. I mean, first things first, Hakeem Olajuwon. Now, reportedly, he charges like $50,000 per session, which to Wemby, I guess, is probably nothing. But that's why you don't really see him training with, some of the lower bench guys. But regardless, doesn't matter, because we know Hakeem Olajuwon has worked with a ton of NBA players. He's worked with Embiid, famously worked with Kobe Bryant. Like, when he works with players, their footwork is like immediately noticeably better. And I find that strange because so many times, well, I don't find it strange because obviously Hakeem is one of, if not the greatest of all time when it comes to footwork, specifically in the post. And he's a fantastic teacher of it, obviously. But it's not very often that, like, when you get taught something with one guy for a little bit, all of a sudden it's just immediately applicable, right? So that's what I've noticed with a lot of the guys Hakeem's trained in the past is, like, it is right away noticeable. And that's what I'm so excited about here. Wemby's going out of his way to work with guys that will help him in the aspects that he needs the most. And I saw some posts online, I think it was Eric Salinas on Twitter was saying how, like, you know, Wemby, in terms of actual post-up offense, his field goal percentage is fine, turns the ball over a bit, he tends to dribble a lot. Working on the efficiency of his footwork, I thought was a good point of what he said. Like, the efficiency of your footwork, if you're Wemby in the post, learning from Hakeem is going to be so good because you can make shots that Hakeem couldn't make because of your length and your agility. Hakeem was very agile, but Wemby is ridiculous when you combine it with his height. So there's so many aspects to this. I want to see dream shakes. I want to see everything coming from Wemby here, but this to me is the biggest thing we could possibly have seen this offseason in terms of Wemby's training. I feel like from day one in the NBA, we've been saying, Spurs fans as a collective, like, let's see Victor Wembanyama work with Hakeem Olajuwon, and I want to see how that turns out, because I don't know what it's going to look like this year, but it has to be amazing. Like, how do you improve upon this? Well, first of all, you have a fully healthy season and hopefully no more blood clot issues, but 24.5 points, 11 boards, 4 assists, 4 blocks, and a steal on 48% from the field. If he can improve that field goal percentage, like, inside the three-point line, because the three-point percentage is probably going to go up because I imagine he's not going to take 9 threes a game this year again, which is kind of, anyway, an insane number that he took. But, like, when you have a guy like Hakeem who can teach you that, it's so good. But again, it's not just him, right? It's these other guys like Kevin Garnett. This was not part of his Instagram post, but Kevin Garnett teaches so many different things, right? That in defensive intensity and also some post footwork with that mid-range game. But it's really that effort and that mentality that Kevin Garnett is an expert on. And so working with these two guys, two of the greatest big men to ever play the game, is so important. And Wemby is so eager to learn. And not only that, every single person he works with, every single person Wemby works with, I should say, raves about how much he wants to learn, how skilled he is. Like, it's crazy to see guys like Garnett be like, oh yeah, Wemby, he's going to be so amazing, right? There's so many great things. And then you also have this, like, there was just a comment saying, yeah, I saw you at Bass Pro the other day. Wemby said, I haven't been there in years. Must have been another 7'5" Frenchman. Now, this is said in jest, I suppose, but 7'5"? Like, is he really 7'5"? Like, that's what I'm starting to think now. I mean, he's listed at 7, I think, what does this say? 7'3". You know, like, some places have him 7'3". You hear some people saying 7'4". Wemby himself, again, this could just be joking. Like, he could be inflating his height, but typically he hasn't done that. Anyway, it's hard to take this seriously. It's a response to an Instagram comment. But when you start to look at the pictures, you're like, well, 7'5" would not be completely out of the realm of possibility. And when you think 7'5", with how long he is, with, look, I also don't think it's that he's, like, grown from 7'3" to 7'5". It's probably just his true height, like, you know, because I don't think he's just growing in between seasons here now. But when you see pictures of him with, like, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, you're like, whoa, okay, even with Hakeem, even with this right here, let me show you this. Look at this. Look at him shooting over Luke Cornett. Now, this is from this video. You can see it here in a second here. This shot right after this clip here. There, he shot over him. And I took a still. Now, okay, it's hard to judge the distance. Like, let me be clear here. This is not like perfectly realistic because Cornett is probably a few feet away from him. But regardless, right? Imagine this is a closeout. That's a real game scenario, right? A real game scenario closeout. Like, Wemby's not going to pull if a guy's standing right here. Well, he probably still could, but, like, if a 7'2" guy is closing out on you, and that's the kind of elevation you get on your shot, what do you do as a defense? I'm starting to think he's 8 feet tall. And again, it's just a still from a video. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously. Maybe I'm taking this too seriously. But, like, come on, right? There's so many things that just came out in this last day that's amazing. And again, looking at the roster construction and how Wemby, we still got 2 full years at a sub $20 million deal. And after that, it's going to be the super max because you know this guy's going to be raking in the All-NBAs, the awards, again, if he's healthy. It's going to be insane. So, needed to talk about this today. Hakeem Olajuwon, we heard about this earlier in the offseason, to be fair, but now we saw it. Oh, and also this. I mean, like, come on. Like, he's just going to start casting spells on the defense, right? Wingardium Leviosa, see ya, get out of the paint. I'm going to go dunk on you, move you back to the three-point line. There's just, like, you know, the three-headed monster of Hakeem Olajuwon, Kevin Garnett, and Daniel Radcliffe is about to send the San Antonio Spurs to the moon. So leave your thoughts on all of this down below. I'm super excited about it. That'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. And hey, if you made it almost 10 minutes into this video, I think we earned that subscription at this point. We got content coming. We're so excited for this season. Thank you all for tuning in every single day. I've been your host, Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you all in the next one.